as we see AI develop, it feels like it's becoming creative unto itself. We have two great creatives here. We've got somebody who is creative, who writes music, and he's creative through music, and that has brought him to technology. And we have somebody who's a technologist who is increasingly doing things that are becoming creative unto themselves. Guys, first, for those who don't know, well, why don't you tell us your journey? You know, you are, as John said, you are, you're known worldwide for the Black Eyed Peas, but you are, and I've seen you here many times, you're one of the great technological thinkers in the world. Tell us, give us a quick, your journey to that, because it's very unconventional.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is will.i.am. I come from Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, which is a ghetto east of downtown, just right before you get into East Los Angeles. I got out of that predicament with creativity. We were poor, but creativity was my currency. And music was my path to execute my creativity. But I don't play the guitar or the keyboard. I play the computer. The computer was my instrument. And because of my fascination and love for the computer, when the Black Eyed Peas would tour, I had the opportunity to meet Professor Patrick Winston at MIT in 2005. And he was so nice, he let me come into his classrooms and just sit in. And I was fascinated with the concept of AI back in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, every time the Peas would go on tour there. And being acknowledged for, way out thinking and encouraged to be that cross-disciplinary with the types of people that I surrounded myself with, it catapulted, the work that I was doing with the Black Eyed Peas. So around the same time, we had launched iPods and iTunes with Apple. And I was fascinated with the world of, advertisement and ad agencies. So I applied that same type of ad agency thinking to the Black Eyed Peas. That got me into being a part of Beats. I was a part of Beats Electronics from the jump. And then when we sold Beats to HTC in 2012, my hunch was to go to Israel and to Bangalore, India, to work with different teams, because that's some of the things that I learned at Professor Patrick Winston's class, was putting these different types of teams together. Machine learning in Israel, natural language understanding, natural language processing from Bangalore. And that's what got me into the AI space when we were in AI Winter 2000 and then. But yeah, I just love tech. I love compute. I love putting different teams together to solve problems with the technology that we have today.
And Will, today you continue to do that. You have some very exciting AI, very creative AI activities, right?
Yeah, we just came from CES this year. Last year I was at CES. We launched this project with the company that I started, FYI.ai, called Sound Drive, which takes all the sensors from the vehicle and turns those signals into orchestras, if you will. And so when the driver drives, they're composing music just by driving. And we launched that with Mercedes. I announced it last year. It's launched in October. And this year we were at CES and deploying our infotainment AI system on LG products. We have a big announcement in March with the automobile partner for that infotainment conversational banter companion for the cabin.
So can you make driving safer? The better you drive, the better the music you create. You're saving lives while creating music.
Autonomously, yeah. Yeah, but the experience that's in the Mercedes, the Sound Drive, is spectacular. To be able to to experience music. So moving away from listening to participating, and giving everybody the same feeling that I feel, that we feel on stage making music, regardless if you play music or not. You are, it's pretty awesome thing. Thanks for the claps.
Well, I think that goes to the heart of what we're talking about here, which is that's the ultimate use of AI as a tool. You're using it as a true tool to create. But yeah, Danielle, what are you seeing at CSAIL in terms of AI, and generative AI actually being the creator? I mean, I think that is where the tension is and will be, and that obviously AI is an incredible tool, but there's a lot of concern out there, of course, because as it becomes a creator, there's some tension.
So, I mean, it's interesting because I really see the generative AI tools empowering people to be more creative themselves, not as replacements. I mean, in some sense, the state of the art in generative AI is such that if you that they would the systems would give you the average of the information that they got trained in. So that's not so creative, right? I mean, who wants the average? But you can be empowered. With AI, you can become more masterful at whatever task, whatever creative activity you choose to engage in. So for instance, with AI, you can help create music. With AI, you can help create poetry. With AI, you can help create visual arts. And you can think about, like in the space of visual arts, you can think of the data that is used to train the AI system as the new pigments and the algorithms as the new brushes. At least this is one lesson I have learned from Refik Anadol, who has been such a huge promoter of AI for the visual arts. But with AI, you can also be a more creative engineer. And so, for instance, with AI, we have new computational design tools that are helping engineers create products faster and better. And this, in turn, accelerates the innovation cycle, and this, in turn, impacts the whole world.
Well, take us fast forward where all of us can start creating. All of us in a car can all of a sudden be a producer. We could all be songwriters. We can be music creators. Fast forward a couple of years where now everybody in this room, where again, nobody in this room 5 years ago or 10 years ago could do what you do, but 5 or 10 years ago, maybe everybody can, if not do it as well as you, can do something that's pretty good. Where does that take us in terms of a world where we're all super creators?
I don't know if it's that simple that way. When somebody gets up on stage and they improv, AI is not doing that. So the perception and the illusion of I input and there's like a regurgitation of imagination on the other side and giving you an output of that, that's cool, that's great. But you can't take away like pure soul rinse. It's two different things. And AI is awesome. We have a new member of the Black Eyed Peas named Vita, which is an AI member of the group. And that's an awesome experience. But it's not gonna soul rinse. It's not gonna like, hey, I just went through some stuff. Oh, let me lay this all out on the stage. And I think because of AI, people are going to want to see soul rinse. They're gonna want to see someone truly express themselves in the moment, because there's gonna be an abundance of like just quick machine. It's gonna be soulful, but it's not gonna be a soul rinse. It's different.
I mean, in some ways, what you're saying, it puts a premium on humanity, and that's, I think that's what we're hearing across the day. For both of you, what's the thing you're seeing right now that hasn't, it's not ready to be released yet, that gets you the most excited?
that we're working on.
Either something that you're seeing in AI that you're like, wow, this could really change things, and the thing you're most excited about in the next 6 months, 1 year.
I'd rather wait till 6 months to tell you. But we're working on some really, really awesome stuff, especially for the in-cabin, in the car, to further, the innovation that we started with Mercedes in car. We have some really exciting news in March with another automobile partner. Yeah, it's exciting to be creative at this moment. This is a whole new renaissance.
So, staying with the car theme, we're working towards turning the car into the driver's friend. So, you can talk to the car can talk to you, the car can know things about you so that it can truly give you advice or interact with you as a friend. So that's one area that I think is very exciting. But there is so much more. We are beginning to use AI to understand more deeply the natural world. And we've been engaged in this project to understand the language of whales, of sperm whales. And this is an extraordinarily exciting activity, research, because we're truly getting to understand nature at much deeper levels, and we are getting closer to the kinds of things that we should be doing for better conservation. And with whales, we are beginning to discover the beginnings of language. I mean, we used to think that people are the only creatures on this planet that are capable of communicating with complexity and with intent. But it turns out there are other creatures on the planet that have similar capabilities. And it's kind of exciting. And in studying whales, we're
going to have Google Translate for all creatures?
Well, at least let's start with whales.
Let's talk a little bit about, and in the creative space, there's a lot of debate right now about rights, copyright, who owns what. It's no different than, the debate when sampling first came around, what constitutes, something that has inspired somebody versus stealing. Where are you guys seeing in terms of what's going on when you start to see, I mean, we saw it with, even when Scarlett Johansson was complaining about, was suing about her voice, what she perceived as her voice being sold. What are you seeing there?
Because there's loose, I use just being polite, loose regulations and loose governance. I think folks are getting away with practices that'll make us scratch our head 10 years from now, like, what the hell were we doing back then? And protecting not just creatives, but every single person. So it's one thing for like famous people to have their voice duped, but it's another thing for like Melissa Gomez. Imagine there's a person named Melissa Gomez. She sells, she works at Savvy TBD at Nordstrom's, and she's a great salesperson. And every single quarter she hits the numbers. And then Pete Nordstrom is like, hey, we like Melissa. Let's let's botify Melissa and how she sells so Melissa can sell on Nordstroms.com for us. Shouldn't she be protected? The way she sells, the way she engages with the customer to make them like transact, that's a skill, that's a talent. Why is our barometer and our aperture for talent only creative? Like Melissa's creative, and so are folks that tend to people in the hospital. Nurses are creative; they make you feel a certain way, and so if that's the case, that means every nurse, every salesperson, every single person on earth needs their data protected. This means there needs to be a data bank, just like there's something that exists to keep your credit. Credit's a freaking brand new thing. Credit hasn't been around for freaking 200 years. That's some new shit. So if that new shit exists and there's entities for it, like MasterCard and Visa, that's pretty new in the grand scheme of things. And if you take MasterCard and Visa and all the banks and you put all their money together, Meta actually, they don't give you, you don't buy anything from Meta. And they got shit tons of money for being the bank for our data. They bank our shit and sell our shit to other people that want to buy our shit. If you think about it that way. So when you think of like data rights and privacy and protecting the artists, you also have to think about the misuse and of data practices, because it goes hand in hand.
Well said, Will. And I would just add to that the research community is very concerned about these issues. And in fact, there are a lot of attempts both in the research space and in the entrepreneurial space to put the data back with the people so that the people can own their data. And I do think that there are good technological solutions to identifying the data misuse, to identify how you might agree to give your data for some tasks, but not agree to do the data for other tasks. You can agree to contribute, but then you should be reimbursed. And there are a lot of efforts that are looking at how do we come up with solutions that distribute and do revenue share. For example, for the artists, for the people who choose to give their data for training machine learning.
As we talk about creativity, it's the data, and it's also the data patterns, and what you create out of data patterns, and that gets really complicated because who's to say that what you kind of amalgamate isn't yours versus just like you're inspired by things you hear and you create something new. So.
Yeah, same. Is use that pattern as a way to look at it. So we all know this bass line. We know that bass line. And one person would be like, "Oh man, that's Billie Jean, right?" But like, no, that's Caribbean Queen. And somebody would be like, "Oh no, that's not. That's Madonna, like a virgin, right?" Like, "Oh wow." They're all the same freaking like they all have the similar pattern. But who is the originator of that? And they all have different copyrights. So you could quickly be like, "Oh yeah, sampling hip hop." Like, no, that's been happening since the dawn of music. Borrowing from different patterns, different like ways of putting melodies together and structures of rhyme and thought and rhythm. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. And so if you were to ask Prince, be like, "Yo, Prince, who's your influence? Who inspired you?" He would say James Brown. He would say Jimi Hendrix. And if you replace the word inspire or influence with data set, "Hey, Prince, what's your data set?" He would say Prince would say James Brown, Jimi Hendrix. If you ask Michael Jackson the same thing, he'll be like, "Who's your inspirations / who's your data set?" He would say James Brown. They both have James Brown in their data set. But did either of them pay James Brown for their influence, inspiration / data set? And all of their compositions and how they performed and what they took and what they borrowed from? So that's very nuanced on what is inspiration, what is copy, what is copyright. What's the difference between copy and copyright? Especially when the machine is now, mastering data sets and regurgitating imagination. So that's a nuanced one, but without regulations, because we have lack of regulations, lack of governance, we are living in WWW, which is the Wild Wild West, not the World Wide Web.
So who's the sheriff of this new WW? Because when government,
now?
if you look at Senate committees, you've got people who don't even know how to use a smartphone, much less do AI regulation.
Yeah, so if this was a movie, the reason why I said the Wild Wild West, in the Wild Wild West, some gunslingers in town, he's like shooting everybody up, not even being freaking like called out for it, and the sheriff's like drunk on the side. That's what the hell's going on right now. If you think about like the crimes that people are getting away with these foul data practices and, duping folks, leveraging the fact that people's attention span is at the lowest ever, that we are dopamined up with the feed, and the feed is actually feeding on us,
So just to reemphasize, Will is absolutely right, but there are so many efforts to fix that problem, and there are technical solutions. However, the technical solutions without enforcement are not going to be as effective. So we need both.
Yeah, the reason why I keep harping on that is because as we are in this intelligent age, and AI is to borrow from how we were in the social media age, we really need to have some urgency on resolving the last practice as we're just starting this new phenomenon.
Try to forget it right, and now is the time. I mean, the reason a sheriff works is because he's on the ground, but he also has that badge conveyed, with the power of the government. I'm nominating Will to be Wyatt Earp here, so come on, we need someone we do need a sheriff with a moral.
Hey, I'm the sheriff in town. Sorry.
All right, we have 3 minutes left. Give us, maybe Danielle, you first, and then Will, you can close it out. An optimistic view of where we can be in 5 years. Give us something that's beautiful in the space of creativity, and what you could see as a great outcome. If we get this right, we get the regulation right, we get the technology right. Where could we be? Let's be optimistic. There are a lot of panels you're going to hear today that aren't as optimistic. So.
Well, I am actually very optimistic.
I am too, but we have to do it right.
I see AI as a tool.
But tell us in creativity.
In creativity, right? So I see AI as a tool that gives us certain superpowers that can all be applied to creativity. And so we can use AI to be more speedy, more knowledgeable, more insightful, more masterful, more empathetic. And we can take all these skills and apply them so that we can be as creative as can be in whatever space, whatever area we choose to work in our leisure time, in our work time. But that doesn't mean we are going to be the timeless creators, but we can be creators in our own personal space. And for the truly masterful creativity, we can produce better tools, whether in music or in painting or in the visual arts or in the expressive arts. And so technology can truly be your friend, whether you want to use it for individual creativity or for a more profound way of impacting the world. Because I really do believe that a profound way of impacting the world requires the human understanding, the human talent. It's a commentary on the human experience, and that you're not going to get from the average of machines.
Listen, as AI takes commodity jobs and does them better, and it's the only value added will be creativity, if you think about it. So, will.i.am, once you clean up Tombstone, what does the world look like? And don't worry about the clock. Go as long as you want. People are here to see you. What does the world look like in 5 years in an ideal, if we get this right, for creativity, for your area?
So I'm optimistic, but I'm optimistic after acknowledging the terrain, pointing out the landmines and the tripwires and the obstacles. And then I'm optimistic that I could get around that. So let's point out the tripwires. So imagine going to buy a house and you'd be like, hey, how much is this house? It's $10 million. $10 million is awesome. I noticed that there's no restrooms in this house. And then the person selling you in the house says, oh no, this whole neighborhood has a communal toilet. You wouldn't buy that house because the toilet is like personal to you. Like, I noticed there's no refrigerator. Oh no, this whole neighborhood has a communal like kitchen and we share the same refrigerator. And you wouldn't buy that house because like food and what you eat is personal to you. So why in the hell would we think it's okay to have like the communal AI? That's the most personal thing. So I think in the next 5 years, people will realize like, hey, I should have my own AI. I shouldn't be sharing everybody else's shit. And my data shouldn't be going to like some cloud server. It should just be in my house. That means companies are gonna wanna create like personal GPUs and servers for the home. And we're gonna get back to some version of the mid-90s when we had a computer that had everything on it. And realize that being duped to putting all your stuff in somebody else's server was like some hijack. Like, what the fuck was that? Anyways, we fell for it. We got duped into that. And when you have that system, you're going to have a bunch of agents that are yours. And your whole premise is to train those agents, to build those agents to be of service to you and your family. And it's only going to be safe and private when everything is under your roof, in your home. And that whole like, yeah, if I'm 90 years old and I had some grandkids, I'm like, hey, get over here, Sonny, this is for you. This the iPhone 17. My grandkids are not going to really care about this shit because the 18's coming. I'm not handing off anything. There's no handing down of anything in this disposable society. So 5 years from now, we're going to realize that we need to start building a different type of wealth. And we know that data and sequencing and the data set is super powerful. And you have kids, you want to make sure you're healthy, so you pass off healthy genes. You want to hand off a healthy data set in this agentic world. You want to start handing off like making sure that there's no junk in your trunk. Sorry, back to my Black Eyed Peas days. You want to make sure there's no, it's like the perfect data set, the golden data set for your family in this world that we're heading down. And creativity is just a skill that your agents are going to have. And there's going to be like law, finance, strategy. You want to make sure that your agents are all equipped with that. And so that means my way of looking at the world is going to be valuable to people's golden data set. Like, yo, I got that will.i.am data set. Yo, I got that, that Ken Hertz legal data set. And so all of the things that we did in our waking moments are valuable to other people that they could hand off and pass on, and not just companies that benefit from everything that we've contributed to, because that is the land grab. The land grab now, the new beachfront property, is our aperture of what we were doing in our waking moments to then program big companies, aggregation of our expertise in the form of agents and bots. And if companies now have the rights of people, it's another landmine that we have to look at. And they have these agents, that things that we really have to think about.